Alright, let's see how the JWT authentication method works. In this video, I'm going to cover 5 steps. First thing is registering a user and then login that registered user and access a private route of that user using the access token, and then refresh the access token that has already expired and then log out a user. Right, let's get started with we have a user and a server. Let's first start with registering a user. Alright, imagine the server has a register endpoint that accepts post requests, and then if you send a post request with the user data, including email and password and the rest of the data, the server creates a hash of the password. The server turns this string, the password string, into a hash value, because we shouldn't save the actual passwords in the database, because if the database gets stolen, the passwords are not going to be stolen. Usually people use the same password for a lot of websites, so if one gets compromised, everything gets compromised. So we don't save the actual password in the database. For that, we use a hashing library and then hash the actual password and then save the hash of the password in the database. Right. And create a user with all of the data that's sent through the post request, mostly from a form on the front end. And then we create a user, and for that password field, we only save the hash of the password. Right. And then the server sends a response saying success, or you can configure it to login automatically. Usually that's not the case. In most of the websites, when you register, it redirects to login page, and then you can enter your password and email and then login. Let's see about the login process. So the server has a login endpoint as well. That's a post request post method. And when you send a post request to this login method, login endpoint with the email and password, first of all, the server is going to check the user table and then gets the user with that email you send, and then gets the password hash. Remember, we saved password hash, and then gets the password hash and then compares it with the password we are sending right now in the database record. This is how a sample password hash look like with bcrypt. This is the hash of the password or string pwd123 with 12 rounds of salt. You don't have to worry about that much. In this video, I'm not gonna cover the salt and everything. I'm just covering the process, how it works and everything. Right. And then after comparing the hash of the password, server is going to create an access token with an expiry date. Access token is short-lived, mostly 60 seconds and stuff like that. This is how a JWT access token looks like. In the first part, we have the algorithm and token details. After the dot and to here, the orange color, we have the payload. We can put anything in here, and then the expiration date. And after the dot until the end, this data is for the verification purposes. After creating a access token, it creates a refresh token as well. Refresh token can be anything, any random string, and it creates an expiry date as well for the refresh token. Mostly it's long-lived. Mostly it's gonna be like 6 months, or you can even go to 12 months. What it basically says is, when you go to a website, you don't log in every time, right? For example, Facebook, you don't log in. You don't use the email and password every time you go to the Facebook. Refresh token takes care of those annoying login process. Right. After that, basically, when you send a post request to the login with email and password, it returns the access token and then the refresh token. You can save these tokens in your local storage or anything on the front end side. Right. Let's see how we can access a private route of that user with the access token. Right. The server has a private data route as well. This is a GET method, and we can include the access token in the HTTP headers. We can add a header called authorization with the bearer and space the access token. When you send that, the server gets the bearer token, the access token, and then validates the access token with the server has a private key. Private key is used to create the access token as well in the login process, and it checks the access token with that private key. And if it's a valid token and then it's not expired, server sends a success response with the private data. If that access token is invalid or expired, it sends an authentication error response. It's not going to send the private data. Right. Let's say if the access token is expired and we need a new access token, and in this case we have to refresh it. And again, server has a refresh token endpoint, which is a post request. we send both of those expired access token and then the refresh token like this. First, the server decodes the access token and then gets the user ID and stuff. And then server searches the user in the database and then gets the user and then compares the refresh token. If the refresh token is same as the user, that step is success, and then signs a new access token with the help of the refresh token. And it signs a new access token since the refresh token is valid. And then it returns the access token, the new access token that can be used to access private routes. Right, let's see the logout process. And again, the server has a logout endpoint as well. It's a post request. It can be a get request as well. And same as the private route, the server expects the authorization header, bearer space access token, and then verifies the access token. After verifying the access token, it says null to the refresh token field in the user record. So what happens is, after the access token is expired, mostly 60 seconds or less, even if you had the refresh token in your front end, you can't refresh the access token and get a new access token. It's gone from the record. It's gone from the user record. You can't access the private routes without logging back in again. Then the response saying successfully logged out or something. And yeah, thanks for watching. And if you like this video or you think you learned something new, just give this video a like. And if you want to watch more videos like this, just subscribe.